Hey everybody, how's it going? Today we're going to be going over and showing you how to install the EcoHitch Stealth Trailer Hitch receiver here on a 2021 Tesla Model 3. This is what our trailer hitch looks like installed on the vehicle. Now it does have a hidden cross tube design, meaning everything is actually going to be tucked back away behind the bumper here. The only thing we can see is the receiver tube, and that's only when we're using it. When we're not using it, we can actually remove a bolt and remove this entirely for a 100% factory-like finish. So adding a trailer hitch to your Model 3, it's going to be an excellent option because it's going to make your vehicle that much more versatile. Now we can obviously use a trailer hitch for towing, but let's say we wanted to free up some space inside the vehicle for us and the family on those long road trips. Or if we just simply want to hit the trails, we could easily attach either a hitch-mounted bike rack or a hitch-mounted cargo carrier. So in regards to towing, our trailer hitch is going to provide us with a 300-pound tongue weight rating. That's the downward force on the receiver tube. It also has a 2,000-pound gross trailer weight rating. That's the amount we can pull outward. Now keep in mind these capacities are for the hitch only, so you will need to check in your owner's manual for the vehicle's capacity if applicable and abide by the lower of the two rated components. Our receiver tube size here is going to be an industry standard 2-inch by 2-inch, and that's going to be the most common on the market. Therefore you're going to have plenty of those hitch mounted accessories to choose from. On the side of our receiver tube, we're going to have a 5/8 inch diameter hitch pin hole. It's going to work great with a 5/8 inch diameter hitch pin and clip. Now keep in mind, the hitch pin and clip actually doesn't come with your trailer hitch, but the reason for that is a lot of your aftermarket accessories are actually going to come with their own, so you shouldn't need to worry about buying one separately, but if you do, we have plenty of options here at eTrailer. And then they're kind of hard to see, but tucked way back up in here, we have our safety chain loops, and those are going to work great with these smaller S-type hooks. So in regards to installation, this hitch really isn't that bad. There's actually no modifying to the vehicle, so you don't have to worry about voiding any warranties or leases. Now keep in mind, we do have to remove the rear bumper cover, and I know that may sound like a daunting task, but it's actually not that bad at all. We'll actually go ahead and walk you through the entire process. Now, in regards to the tools you're going to need, it's mostly common hand tools. There is one tool you might not have, that's a torque wrench, but you can actually rent this for free from most local auto parts stores. Now we will be doing ours in the air just so we can show you guys a little bit more what's going on, but you can certainly still install this on the ground as well. Let's go ahead and jump into that install now. So the first step of our installation today, we're going to be removing our mud flap. So we're going to grab a 10mm socket. We're going to have one bolt here on the bottom edge. So now if we come on the inside of the mud flap here, we're going to have a couple more fasteners. We're going to have this push pin fastener here. So just take a flathead screwdriver, pry that center section out, and then the rest of it will come out with it. And then there's one more at the top here. Now I don't think you can get a tool on there. It's just sort of a nut, a plastic nut that you'll spin by hand. So that's what that looks like. And then once we get that off, we should be able to pull off the mud flap. And there's a closer look at what we were spinning. So now we got a couple more push pin fasteners. They're actually tucked behind our wheel here, and they're just simply holding the fabric liner to the bottom underbody panel. So again, there's two more of them just sort of tucked away back there. Let's go ahead and get those out now. So underneath your mud flap, once you get that removed, you should see a bolt. We'll go ahead and get that out with a 10mm socket. So next thing you're going to do is you're going to peel back this fabric wheel well liner, because you're going to have one torque screw going from the bottom of the bumper fascia into the quarter panel, so it goes straight up like that. So we'll take a T25 Torx bit and get that removed. So now we'll just repeat those same few steps over on the other side of the vehicle. So next we're going to be removing our tail lights. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up the hatch, and you're going to see this little knob on the top here that we need to remove. So you might be able to get this with your hand. This is kind of wet, so I don't have enough strength to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a towel over there, and I'm going to take a pair of vice grips. I'm just going to use that to turn it to break it loose, and then I should be able to get it the rest of the way with our hand. Now next thing we'll be doing is we'll be removing this threshold panel here, and this is pretty easy to remove. We're just going to simply grab underneath and pull straight out. Now we're going to peel back this little fabric trim piece here, And the reason we're doing this is there's going to be 2 nuts securing the taillight body to the vehicle. So we're going to go ahead and take an 8mm socket and remove those 2 nuts. I'm going to be very careful that I don't drop those back down there behind. So now that we have our 2 nuts out, we're going to remove our electrical connector. So there is a red locking tab on there. You're going to pry that out and away from the connector like so. And then we're going to reach in there, and we're going to depress the tab and then pull out. Just like that. Now we're going to remove our tail light here by pulling out and away. Now it can get kind of stuck down in this corner here, so if you have a trim panel tool you can use to help. Basically, we just want to be really careful because we don't want to break any of the tabs or anything. Once we have that tail light removed, we do have a bolt underneath there that needs to come out as well. But now that we've got this done, we're just going to repeat that same process over on the other side to remove that tail light. So next we're going to be coming underneath the vehicle here. So we're going to grab a 10mm socket, and for starters we're going to remove these 2 bolts here. So now on the very outside edges of the bumper, you're going to have these little flaps here. So we're just going to take a screwdriver and we're just going to pry those open. Because underneath there, you're going to have another fastener that we'll remove with a 10mm socket. So now that we have all of our fasteners out of the underbody paneling here, we should just be able to remove it. It is sort of tucked in between that panel there. And then on the outside edges, we have several clips here that are still kind of holding it to the bumper fascia, so we'll need to remove those. So now in order to help prevent scratches, because we are getting ready to take the bumper off, if you have some painter's tape on hand, it's a good idea to just cover the 2 edges where the panels meet, because when we're taking it off and putting them on, they do have a tendency to get scratched. And it's also a lot better if your vehicle is clean too, so I definitely recommend just at least hosing it off at the very least before you take the bumper off, because we will be touching all these panels, and the dirtier they are, the higher chances there is for scratching. All right, so now we're actually ready to start peeling back on our bumper here, so we're just going to grab inside and just pull out to release those clips. So we're going to work our way from one side all the way to the other. Now if you do have an extra set of hands, that's going to help you ensure that you don't damage anything, so I do recommend that. So now with an extra set of hands, we can go ahead and begin removing the entire fascia here. Now you are going to have one electrical connector over here on the passenger side. So there's going to be a little gray tab there. You'll just press that and pull it out. And now we can remove the bumper fascia and set it in a safe place. So now that we have the bumper fascia off, we're going to be removing this metal crossbeam here. So in order to do that, we're going to grab a 15mm socket. We have 3 nuts per side. So now we're ready to remove the metal bumper structure. So you're going to have a couple fasteners on each side here, which we'll remove with a 15mm socket. And now once we have all of our hardware removed, we can just pull the bumper beam off. So next we're going to be temporarily removing this little plastic support here. So we're going to take a 10mm socket, and we're going to have several screws on the outside here. So we do have a couple clips down here. We'll need to pry those out in order to get enough clearance here to set this in the trunk. So next we're going to take our 15mm socket, same one we were using. We're going to have a bolt up here in the upper hand corner. Go ahead and remove that. and then we're actually just going to be removing this metal bracket here altogether. So we have one on each side as well. So once you get those support plates removed, you may or may not have some extra gasket material here on the back of the body. And if you do, just take some sort of scraper so you can get that off there. That way your hitch sits nice and flush. Next, we're going to be taking a nylon washer here that comes in your kit, and you're going to be placing these over each of our studs. And now we're going to take those same nylon washers and place them over the studs on our hitch as well. So now we'll take our factory metal cross bumper here, and we'll go ahead and just set those over the studs on our hitch. Now we'll take our factory flange nuts and secure the bumper beam here to our trailer hitch. Now we can go ahead and snug these up. Next, we'll be torquing them down to the specifications in your instructions. So now we'll take our hitch and bumper beam and go ahead and set it onto the factory studs. And then we'll actually be securing it using our factory flange nuts. I'm just going to place a couple on there to hold it in place while we work. So now we'll come back here and tighten and torque everything down to the specifications in your instructions. Make sure you aren't pinching any of the wires here between the body and the hitch. So if you're wondering what happened to our bumper support plates here, they actually don't get reused with this hitch here, so we could either discard these or just save them for reinstallation at a later date. And now we can reinstall our sensor bracket. So next, we're actually going to be removing the receiver portion here. There's just one bolt on the side here. You'll need a 15/16 inch socket. And the reason we're removing this is because we want to allow for clearance when we put our bumper back into position, and then once we get the bumper back up, that's when we'll reinstall this. But for right now, we will be removing it. So now all that's left to do is just to simply throw our bumper back on the vehicle here, doing the reverse order of the steps that we showed you previously. Now, our particular bumper has a cutout panel for the receiver tube to go through on the bottom of that underbody paneling. If yours does not, you will need to trim, but there are some instructions for that in your manual. So now that we have our bumper back on, we're ready to reinstall our receiver tube. So on the underbody paneling of the vehicle here, we should have this removable cover. And again, if yours doesn't, you would need to trim as we mentioned earlier. But we'll go ahead and remove this. So there's just two little push turn fasteners over there, and you pull it straight down and out. So now we'll go ahead and just take our receiver, slide it up into position, and then take your hex bolt and start threading it through on the other side once you get everything lined up. Now we'll come back here and torque it to the specifications in your instructions. And once we have that torqued down, that's going to do it today for our look and installation of the EcoHitch Stealth Trailer Hitch Receiver here on our 2021 Tesla Model 3.